Hello and welcome to the Speaking Archaeologically lecture on jewellery as an archaeological tool. The purpose of this lecture is to analyse, through a case study, how jewellery can be used to reconstruct past societies. To start with, it becomes imperative to establish why studying jewellery is important as an archaeological tool. Jewellery has been an indicator of cultural identity from the prehistoric times. Study of traditional jewellery in India, however, is largely dominated by art historical approaches, a problem that becomes more pronounced in research work on dress culture and ornaments. Very rarely, thus, is the role of jewellery in determining migration patterns and understanding socio-political patterns understood. Also, in the case of Indian traditional jewellery, it has been noticed that jewellery is mostly remoulded, recast, exchanged or sold for newer ornaments. Through exhibiting the benefits of typologically arranging ornaments in a visual database, this video shows how Dogra jewellery can be used as an archaeological tool. Before going deeper into the topic, it first becomes important to establish who the Dogras are and why exactly their jewellery is so important. Defined as an ethno-linguistic tribe based in India and Pakistan, the Dogras dominate the Jammu region as well as western areas of Himachal Pradesh in India and northeastern pockets of Pakistan. Although language is considered to be an important identifying factor for Dogras, it no longer serves as the only defining factor since many Dogras no longer speak any variants of the Dogri language, especially those who have migrated to regions outside the original Dogra Pradesh. Despite this, their traditional jewellery remains remarkably alike and follows a definitive inheritance pattern when passed down from one generation to the next. Before looking at these ornaments, the causes of Dogra split need to be addressed. While no clear historical records exist, a plethora of reasons can be attributed to the Dogra split, such as foreign invasions, religious conversions to Jainism, Sikhism, Buddhism and Islam, as well as migration to and subsequent cultural assimilations in areas outside the Dogra Pradesh in Jammu. While the split may have led to change in the socio-religious identity of this group, the jewellery essentially remains the same and can be classified on three basic criteria. The first among these is origin. Depending on the area in which a particular pocket of Dogra population is settled, the jewellery can be classified as either rural or urban. Secondly, the jewellery can be studied with respect to its metal of make. In case of Dogra ornaments, these metals tend to be either gold or silver, with some ornaments being made of electrum, an alloy of gold and silver. Apart from this, a tendency has been noticed to use burnished gold. The third classification is the gender of the wearer. Specific ornaments therefore existed for men and women. It is worth mentioning here that male ornaments are no longer worn and have been remoulded and recast. However, the ornaments for women are more common than they appear in museum display cases and are usually still handed down in the family from one generation to another. Post the Dogra split, no common roots can be traced between the sections of populations that identify themselves as Dogras and those who don't. Jewellery therefore serves as the sole unifying factor despite these changes. The tendency of Dogras to pass down ornaments in a well-defined inheritance pattern, namely jewellery reserved to be given to the daughters and jewellery meant to be handed down to daughters-in-law, serves as an important indicator. In following this discrimination throughout, in accordance to the concept of Stridhan as elucidated in the Manu Smriti, the Dogra group tends to exhibit a defining trait, which is independent of their current religious leanings or spoken languages. Dogra jewellery thus is either handed down as Antagni Stridhan, meant to be inherited by the daughter at the age of marriage, usually between the ages of 16 to 26 years, or as Pritidata Stridhan, meant to be inherited by the new bride upon arrival in the new house. An interesting ornament in this regard is the Mrijadi or the Mridhi, which is still handed down in a strict matrilineal fashion, from mothers to daughters or granddaughters only. This hand ornament, which is a belt bracelet, is usually given to daughters between the ages of 16 to 26 years even today. What comes across as very significant is that regardless of the religious leanings of the people possessing this ornament, its inheritance pattern remains strictly matrilineal. Thus, inheritance patterns of ornaments give us a deeper insight into original beliefs and customs of a particular ethnic group. Organizing this data for all recorded ornaments in a visually similar database, as can be seen on the screen, also helps the researcher organize a wide range of information systematically with respect to regions and traditional names. One of the significant problems encountered while studying Dogra jewellery is that the ornaments can rarely be found in the museums. This is because most of the ornaments are still owned by families, and so very few ornaments make it to museums or are ever documented properly. Consequently, the researcher has to rely on gathering primary data from individuals and households by resorting to interactions and in-depth interviews for pre-selected study areas. Apart from this, ornaments also exhibit variations depending upon where they may have been manufactured. Taking the example of the Mirijari again, the ornament is much narrower in Jammu, whereas the Himachali variations tend to be more wider. These become less wider in Punjab, but regardless of these variations, their inheritance pattern remains essentially the same. Other significant source that was discovered while conducting this research was the frescoes from the temples in the Hamirpur and Kangra region. Of particular aid were the depictions of women wearing certain ornaments, which could be easily juxtaposed against photographs of modern samples recorded, and thus the conclusions could be drawn regarding them. Therefore, the biggest significance of the study was the new light it threw on understanding the identity of the Dogras. Although various conferences have been held in the past about the Dogras, there is still relative ignorance about their craft as well as the identity of Dogras living beyond Jammu region. Additionally, socio-political influences, religious conversions and migrations have overshadowed the indigenous Dogra customs and beliefs, limiting the study of this group to just ethno-linguistic features. In such a scenario, jewellery serves as an important indicator of the Dogra identity, especially for people who may have migrated to other regions or converted to other religions. Due to religious and social changes, the Dogra community became diversified and adopted new customs and languages. Thus, jewellery and dress culture serves as a tool for redefining the so-called ethno-linguistic group, where language no longer serves as the only identifying factor. An in-depth analysis of material culture thus may have to be undertaken by anthropologists in order to understand the cultural past as well as the sociological constructs of the Dogras. Using a quantitative database to study the Dogra jewellery can serve as a useful tool to visually organize the samples retrieved from various sources and regions, and it helps to strengthen or refute any existing hypothesis one may encounter. Also, the visual database helps to narrow down target areas of population migration, not just in India per se, but in a much larger global context, helping the researcher to identify the original influences that led to the creation of a particular cultural tradition. If combined with genetic data, the research can then become more scientific than a simple art historic approach. Thus, a quantitative database for studying jewellery can serve as a useful ethno-archaeological tool to study traditional jewellery. Having presented this case study to you, an example is laid before you to conduct a similar study for another region, tribe or community. The key to such a study, however, is a thorough organization and documentation of samples.